Hello, family. Welcome to the National Association of Black Microschool Leaders Expert Series podcast, where we equip, empower, and elevate Black microschool founders and education innovators who are boldly reimagining what school looks like for our kids and for our community. I'm your host, Nicole Stewart. I'm the founder and president of the National Association of Black Microschool Leaders, also Legacy Prep Christian Academy here in Florida. Um, Also, here at NAMBLE, as we affectionately call it, we believe that we are the answer that we have been waiting for. On this podcast, we sit down with game changers, thought leaders, and trailblazers in the area of microschools who are doing real work to transform education from the inside out. So, whether you're a homeschool mama turned edupreneur, or a former classroom teacher with a big vision, or someone who's just starting, this is the place for you. So we're going to laugh, we're going to learn, and we're going to lean into the power of legacy building through education. So grab your notebook, your coffee, or whatever fuels you, and let's get into it. So today we're talking to a powerhouse, a trailblazer, all the adjectives, okay? We're going to talk to Shiren Rattigan of Colossal Academy and InEd. So, Shiren is a pioneering founder of Colossal Academy and a network of microschools emphasizing relevant, future forward education. As the owner and principal educational curator of Colossal Academy, Rattigan is a UC Berkeley extensions educator and a Harvard emerging model presenter. Her innovative approach to education has been recognized in Forbes, Sun Sentinel, Liberated, Reimagine, and I think I got both of those wrong, but Avela Education Fund, and yes, Stop Award quarterfinalist. Wow. So Shiren's 15 years in adolescent education has solidified her role as a passionate advocate for young voices. She's dedicated to fostering entrepreneurial mindsets and ensuring student outcomes positively impact their communities. Shiren's vision is to see students graduate as CEOs of their own businesses, ready for seamless transition into adulthood. Beyond education, Shiren is also a dedicated wife and mother to three exceptional daughters. Let's give it up for the Shiren Rattigan. Woo!
Thank you for having
Welcome,
me.
Shiren, to our platform. Welcome to the National Association of Black Microschool Leaders Expert Series. How are you feeling?
Ooh, your intro was amazing. I feel like Nimble's mission and vision is so deeply aligned with what we're doing, and it made me tear up. So thank you for having me be emotional this morning. I appreciate you.
Okay. Okay, give me 1 second. I need to fix my volume. Okay, absolutely perfect. So that can you hear me?
I
I
can.
can. That's amazing. Amazing. Okay, good. So I am so excited that you are here, that we are doing this again. And so let's get started. Let's get everything started. So thank you for being here. The one thing that I really want to ask you is during this, I can say that as an experienced educator, that microschools or the process of microschooling is quite different, right? I have always been a teacher and I've done really well at it, but I am not just a teacher, I am a business owner. And it is 1,000% different than just being a teacher. And so, what do you find most rewarding about running a micro school, and what keeps you motivated to keep pushing boundaries? Because that's what you're doing, girl. You're doing a great job.
Most motivated. I think it's the impact. And I was a classroom teacher for a very long time, and I kept bouncing between places. of public school, private school, Montessori school, here and there, and thinking that something was wrong with me, right? That there was something wrong with me.
Mhm.
And so what microschooling has done is validated my experience and what I thought a classroom could be. I just
Mhm.
created it.
Right.
And I was like, okay, I'm gonna set the table for my daughters. And then if anybody wants to eat, y'all can come over, but this is what's on the menu, right? And
Right.
so it really empowered me to be the expert that I knew I already was, but the system of education, regardless if it's private, public, is chaos for teachers. It teaches us to handle chaos, that we're supposed to be living in chaos and thriving in chaos. And instead, we can be flourishing, flourishing in spaces that are built by us, designed by us, with the students in mind. So I would say the first, like most rewarding part is being validated, and that's egocentric. The next thing is watching young people flourish and like popcorn, they just light up. I
Yes.
love the adolescent age. I'm the middle school teacher. We are the mismatched toys under the bed of Sid's. I always think of us as like, Toy Story when Sid has all those weird toys under the that's middle school teachers.
That's true.
Everybody in Andy's neck of the woods are every other teacher, and we're the toys underneath them,
Right.
Andy's bed. But um, really getting to do what I know is important for adolescents and not feeling constrained by a system that wasn't built or designed for us, honestly, which involves movement, which involves connecting with the earth.
Mhm.
There's so much stigma around gardening and farming, just
Right.
with the legacy of the United
Mhm.
States,
Right.
that we have to reintroduce the earth to our young people. And so that's one of the most rewarding pieces. And then they're making money. The kids are making money. They're
Right.
taught to hustle, and
Hello.
they can make money about doing like their schoolwork. The end project is a money making adventure, right? So instead of quantifying with grades, it's like, well, how much did you make? How can we iterate? How can
Mhm.
we start to change a business so that it can be better and serve more
Yeah.
people? Or what's wrong with it? Like, how can we break it apart? So those are probably my top three motivators. And then the kids just keep helping me reinvent, because all I do is listen to what their needs are, and so it's never gets boring.
Well, you know what? The kids will lead you, right?
They
They
really will.
So I want to get back to that because I want to talk more about your school in general. But I want to start. You talked a little bit about being in public and private and trying to find your place. Can you tell us a little bit more about your journey and how Colossal Academy and InEd came to be?
Sure. So I'm a fifth generation teacher, and so we've grown up in all of the all of the education in this country
Mhm.
has been passed down through my lineage and is running through my veins, right? My mom was a public school teacher, sped teacher for 35 years in a Title I district. We spent all of our Christmas stuffing stockings for kids that didn't have anything, even though we didn't have anything either. Every break, we would have people on the sofa, in the guest room, on the living. So I was like, "There's no way. I want to make money. I want to travel. I want to do these things. I want to own a house. I want to." There were goals that I had that I was like, I'm not doing that. So
Yeah.
I did not go to school for education. I went to school actually for sociology and engineering. It was a weird combination, but that's who I am. And so I ended up going the alternative path into education. I started at public school at the school district that my mom taught in, and which was a great way because I could just like any family business, you learn like the fast ways in. So it was quick for me to get into the district, get my license, do everything I needed to do. And so I was placed in the middle school that she worked in forever. So some of her students were the moms or big brothers, so it was just all intertwined.
Mhm.
And so I worked at public school. I'm a math teacher. And so yeah, I was just like, there's
Mm,
so much more to it than just memorizing. Math is so profound, and it's a natural language for the natural world. It's so deep and rich, and what we're giving these young people is like memorization. But more than that, they're coming to school hungry and tired, and they need a nap, and they need to go outside. Like these other pieces that come to being a whole human, and I felt like we weren't able to address. So I was like, okay, probably. And then there's also fights. There's like people fighting all the time. I'm breaking up fights. I'm pulling kids in my room, trying to mediate. There was just a lot of things going on. Violence being one of the main reasons why I left.
right.
So I went to very prestigious, very expensive private school where there was a helicopter landing pad that the
Wow.
kids got transported by helicopter. Um, and there's a different kind of violence there. It's not a physical aggression, but it did lack the community that I really love. What I learned there is that I'm a servant of the young people, right? That
Mhm.
I'm not the sage, that I'm here to connect the dots for you and be a servant for you. That was not a place that I could live in too much because, when we would have parent teacher conferences, the nannies would show up or the butler would show up. It just wasn't the kind of work I wanted to do with young people and their families. The pay was amazing, but it came with crazy hours, high expectations, and I just wanted to be. So I thought, okay, Montessori.
Right.
They need to be in nature. Surely, surely they are gardening and doing all these beautiful things in Montessori. And then I could teach them math and the language of math within nature. I could do that. What I found there, well, what happened there is the pandemic hit and the
Right.
George Floyd incident, as
Mhm.
as we can all feel, even when I say his name, it's a deep feeling of sorrow, right?
Right.
And so young people were asking me questions, and I wanted to be able to answer them I went to my administrators. I'm like, how do you want me to answer these questions?
Mhm.
And their response was not acceptable to me. I was offering what was I doing at the time? I was doing responsive teaching, right? Cultural responsive teaching was Loretta Hammond's workbook. And I was like, I can offer this to your staff.
Right.
They need to be a little bit more competent. We're fielding these questions. And then they told me I was aggressive. So I left. Or I was fired. I don't know. We'll see. I don't, they locked up all of my stuff. And I was like, that's fine.
Okay.
So that was
Especially
kind of
that book.
how it led me. Urgency will put you in places that you didn't even realize you needed to be. And so the
Yeah.
urgency was like, I got to get a job. So that's how Colossal, that's our genesis of where we came from.
That's, you know, like you'll eventually get to where you're supposed to be, right? No matter if you have to be pushed or pulled or you have to go through certain experiences, but you will get there because I know you know that Colossal was where you were always headed, right?
Yeah. It was like a divine architecture. I remember going to a farm. I'm Jamaican. My dad
Mhm.
immigrated here from Jamaica. And so I always wonder why these things. I didn't have a linear path, and why this and why that. And why did I pick up all these little things along the way? And so we were on a Jamaican owned farm, which there aren't very many, let alone food farms in Broward. I'm in Broward County, Florida. And I was sitting on the farm, and it was a Jamaican owned farm. And I had this vision, and it was a map that was in a form of a cube, and it
Mhm.
just opened up and then unlocked in front of me, and it was like, this is why. And I just had the information of why I had to move, why I had to teach here, why I had a Jamaican dad, why do I speak Spanish too, like all of these things that I had to. It's because of this particular moment in time that I had to gather these experiences so that I can create this business and also learning environment.
Yeah. Yeah, and what an awesome place it is. I hear a lot of amazing things. I'll be in Florida. I mean, I'm already in Florida, Fort Lauderdale soon. So I want to come by. I want to see what
Come
you guys
on
do.
down, come on over,
Yeah.
please. It'd be an honor.
For sure. So, what I mean, you've told me some things about your approach, but I want to know what unique vision or approach does Colossal use to what brings to the micro school space, and how has it shaped the experiences for your students?
I think what we're building, we are a micro school, but that's not it. That's not totally it. We're
Okay.
really designing curriculum that is future forward. How are we preparing for the future, right? We need
Mhm.
young people who are agile and nimble and entrepreneurial that could learn a new skill really quickly and be okay to lose a job really quickly, because many of our
Mhm.
skills, they're saying even now, any skill that you learn, any hard skill for like
Mhm.
a career in technical,
Right.
only has a lifetime of 2 years. So you're going to constantly have to be a life learner, right? So everything we kind of know about any hard skill is going to be replaced and upgraded within 2 years. So you have to be a constant moving person. Now,
Okay.
we also know that the average age of farmers is 67, I want to say. It might have been 66, 67. And our farmers are, who's going to farm?
Right.
But
We
we
still
know
need
that
food.
we need food. And
Still need
so, and not food in Mars, but like right
food.
here. And
Yes.
so the part of it is all these careers are going to be opening up in agriculture to answer, how do we feed this planet, right? Or how do we feed the
Mhm.
United States? How do we feed people when our farmers have aged out? And we know that, technology like drones or agricultural practices that involve tech are going to, like, that fusion of those two worlds are going to be ever present.
Mhm.
And so they have to have a really a rich understanding of agriculture. And we do permaculture, all organic. The soil's never been sprayed on. The
Mhm.
food has, they eat from their garden. So they need to have that experience. And so they have a appreciation for that and try to replicate that at a higher rate, rather than like monocultural agriculture that's actually not good for the planet or humans, right?
Mhm.
So
Okay.
that's kind of what we're developing, but it's unfolding. It's always unfolding.
Listen, it sounds pretty amazing. It really does.
Thank you.
So, in creating this micro school, and I feel weird calling it a micro school now that you've told, you told me all that it entails. It is. I know that it's a micro school, but I, like you, feel like it's so much more.
Mm.
When starting Colossal, what are some of the challenges that you faced?
The inner saboteur, that inside voice, like, why you? Why should you do this? All this stuff that just gets caught, that I didn't put there. I don't know who put it there, but somebody put it there. And so then that inner saboteur comes out, and it's like, why should you want a space? Oh, just like the stuff, the noise, or that this isn't a real business. This is just something I'll kind of do, right? Like all
Right.
of that noise. So part of it is having to discipline my internal voice, and that
Mhm.
takes meditation, prayer, whatever your relationship with the divine is, however
Right.
that spiritual practice is, but that spiritual hygiene has to be first and foremost clean, right? And then the other thing is, I just don't know business and money, and what do I type into the YouTube? I am a YouTube university kind of person. And
Hello.
what do I type into
Right.
the search engine? I don't even know what to type. So I'm like, please make money. Have a school that runs. Like, what do you put into the search engine? So just learning the vocabulary. I'm highly dyslexic, so reading books is not the way I actually learn. I learn through people and experiences, and also
Mhm.
YouTube University.
Right.
So part that was probably the other difficult thing. But what I will say is our people are really fast, really resilient, and ready to share. And I have met some incredible people. Obviously, there are, like anything in life, there are going to be people who are not in your best interest and ready to take credit for something that you've done. And so that was the other part of like betrayal, because I'm so community. What do you want to know? I'll give it to you for free. Like, it's just because I know the end result is going to be something for young people. I don't even need to claim it as mine, right? I don't need to
Right.
have the title to go with it. But that I had to start protecting my intellectual property was a big and hard and painful lesson, but I'm glad I learned it. And it's only as I'm doing something that I'm like, oh, now I got to register that. Oh, I got to trademark that. Oh, I
Right,
have to publish this. Right. And so I didn't quite know that. And I trusted because we're moms and teachers, and every other environment I've worked with is with teachers.
right.
And I'm realizing that not everybody is a teacher.
Right.
And I mean skills wise, like
Yes.
you got one trick you can do. Like, look what I can do. Like all these and the
Yeah.
more people I meet, I'm like, I only want to work with teachers. I'm really good. I'm good. So like just having such an again a reverence for teachers and our abilities and what we're capable of doing and how talented and skilled, and really just translating what we do in the classroom into a language of business. And I think that it's not much different. We're people managers. We're
Right.
people managers. So
Exactly.
that's
Okay.
kind of I hope I answered your
Listen,
question.
you did that, and that makes perfect sense. As we, when you start up your micro school and you come to, I mean, you were probably one of the earlier schools, right? So you've been in business how long?
We started in the pandemic, so September 2020, I got my LLC.
Okay.
Right, yep.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So, like I said, you were there like from the beginning, sort of the pandemic boom, right? And so, what do you think? In micro schools were barely had a name at
Mhm.
that point, and so what do you think is a biggest misconception about micro schools that people have about micro schools? What do you think is the misconception? Do you think that there are any?
I think that there's just lack of information about what we are still. I think it's still an emerging. I think Florida has a pretty good grip on it, but as I talk to other micro school leaders in California or Texas, they're still having to figure out a definition for people to have it.
Right.
For me, microschooling is really community oriented work that we do, right? And
Hmm.
so I think people probably think that we're not actually learning. Like, why are they learning how to farm when they really need to learn the quadratic formula or whatever? Um, the other thing is that we're breaking for every system that you are in and you leave. There are lots of systems that make that system
Right.
happen, right? That
Mhm.
uphold that system.
Yes.
So when you leave a system like that, there's a lot of other things that want to keep you in that system. And so
Right.
I think, understanding how do we measure how do we know they're learning? How do we know young
Right.
people are learning? Like, are they really learning? And just the critique on the schools, the micro schools especially, that they don't do for the public schools. And I'm not anti-public school. I'm just saying critique it across the board. Like, don't um I'm okay with accountability. Here's
For
my
sure.
receipts. Here you go. I
Yeah.
have no problem with that. But
Mhm.
what I would like it to be is more fair, like let's really hold our public schools just as accountable as we're asking micro schools to be.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. I believe that coming out of that we are at a point as we move to the forefront, as we move and become the uh, best choice. I can't help but be biased. I'm sorry. As micro schools become the best choice um, in the school choice arena, um, I think that we will be looked at more closely. And I think that the standards that internally, that we should set some standards for ourselves across the board, so that people understand that not only do you have these requirements, we have these requirements of ourselves.
Hmm.
And this is how we self monitor, right? And
Mm.
the information is available. So I just want to know from you, because there are so many people who are launching, right? That's the business that we're in. There's so many people starting. And what would you say to someone who is taking that essential first step to successfully launching a school? I get calls from people, emails, texts. What do I do? What's next? How do I start? Um, what do you believe is the essential first step to successfully launching a school?
I'm a just go person, and I don't know that that's the right way to do things. I actually, but I was just like, go, just
Okay.
go, meet them where they're at, be where they're at, learn anywhere, roll up at the beach, open up our books. I was just happy to not have actually the first iteration of Colossal didn't have a location. We were
Mhm.
online. We met once a week, then twice a week, then three, um, and so I was happy to just meet people at a library at this.
Mhm.
We went kayaking. I would teach them out of the book. I mean, we just were wherever we needed to be. And I had 4 students to start the first year, and that
Yeah.
was enough to pay my bills, because they don't pay us anything at
Right.
schools. Um, I would say just go get really firm in your belief that this vision was gifted to you and that you're going to be fine.
Yes.
You have to be obedient to the calling,
Mhm.
obedient to your spiritual practice, and
Okay.
again, keeping that spiritual hygiene just super clear, and
Mhm.
a reminder of why we're doing this.
That's right.
I know people say remember your why all the time, but really, it's our young people that, and anybody who's starting a micro school that's an independent person,
Mhm.
it's really about the young people and the experiences, and that we know we can do better. And as long as we're staying aligned and focused in that, everything will come. I really believe that we will be provided for. And this has been proven to me over and over and over again that once I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can do this anymore, the way just gets shown. And so I just lean into that a lot, and trust that I know where my heart is. It's always young people.
Mhm.
And as long as I'm making decisions that I feel centered in, that are not based out of greed or ego, that's really based on children, families, and community, those are my top 3, that
Mhm.
everything's going to be okay. So really, for people who are just starting, trust and believe you're going to be fine. You're going to find the people. Everything's going to just be fine.
Right.
Be obedient to your vision and go.
Yes. Yes, I agree. I agree. Just go is really it's really the thing to do, because one of the things that I found with talking to these people is that the fear is there and they want to make the right step instead of making a step. And the path is a winding path. It's not a straight path. So just go is the right answer. Just move forward. Yeah.
And I
So
think we
I
want to know that we're going to step on sure footing, but there is no guarantee in that. And even if you change districts or, what I mean, there's never a guarantee in anything we're doing, but that we're going to just trust and have faith, you know, trust and have faith that we can do better. We can do better. We can do better. We can. We are doing better and we
we
can do that.
are.
We just have to do it. And
Yeah,
it's
we
scary,
are.
it's grinding, but that is entrepreneurship. It's the most spiritually grinding, fine polishing that you'll ever have to your soul. And it's woo, it will
Listen.
make you question everything that you ever thought about yourself and in the world. And
Yeah.
you just have to stay super clear, always stay with integrity, always be with integrity.
Right.
Remember people in what you do. So when you're hiring or you're firing or you're that we're humans, right? And
Right.
that to meet people with integrity, and dignity.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. So, speaking of hiring and firing, when it comes to building a team, we talked about something that could help the people that are launching their schools. And let's get with the I have a lot of questions too about sustaining, about HR issues. So, when it comes to building a team, what qualities do you look for in micro school educators?
Mhm.
Um, that works in that environment as opposed to public schools. Because some public school educators I had to unschool. before I opened my school. I just had to, because I had a certain way of doing things, and so how do you approach that when you're hiring educators for the micro school environment?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's an evolving practice that I'm learning.
Hmm.
I have hired people that are coming out of traditional systems, and I've decided that I'm not in the business of healing adults. I am in the business of maintaining a safe space for my young learners. And so
Right,
you got to come with it. You have got to have done your work before you come through the door. I
right,
can't do that
right,
anymore
mhm,
because it's not sustainable for me. And the whole point
right.
is I need to put people in place so that I can go do the other things. So that was one thing, just that these are some big lessons I'm learning of, like, not needing as much as I want everybody to come up with me. Not in this learning environment. You got to come with some things. I'm not saying you have to be completely healed, but you have to have gone on some kind of journey like before you get here, because you're
Hello.
showing up for young people. You have, for me, you have to have already healed your inner adolescent. You have had to
Hmm.
have that conversation and dealt with that adolescent, because you're going to be faced with your adolescence every single day with a
Yes.
13-year-old that is just out of their mind, right? Because that's what's going on in their brain and their body. So, have you faced your 13-year-old self?
Right.
If not, this might be the environment for you, because you're going to be dealing with all kinds of eye rolls. And then we got
Right.
to them, remind them that that's not the way we communicate with
Right.
anybody. And then
Yes.
they, snap out of it. But so that's one thing. The other thing that we did, the reason I franchised, so this is what it's a lot of work to start from scratch, right?
Right.
You got to find your logo, you got to find your colors. Do you know how much time I spent on this particular purple versus this particular green and this particular 3 a.m.? It was just like obsessive, right? Like I would get obsessive about certain things and chroma hexes and
Mhm.
logos and website flow and the wordage. And it's not worth it if what I'm trying to do, it wasn't worth it for, if I could pave and package that part up for people so that they could just do the business of being with young people,
Right.
then that felt like it was worth it to me. So that's why we franchise Colossal, and centralizing for the HR piece. So our online learners meet with our in-person learners, and we have an online school that is hands-on, very, and that helps for the one biology student that you need to get that credit. You can't
Right.
hire a one biology teacher to come in 2-3 hours a week
Right.
and be dedicated to your cause and be aligned. No. So it just felt like that was the proper thing to do. And then other micro schools are using the Colossal Online to be able to, um, get that one algebra student, the teacher that they need, and the pre-calculus, and all the things that they need to graduate. So that's been kind of how I've managed with the HR, so that we can share the cost of teachers who are well trained, because I train them, and are sacredly. I think of it as like a sacred calling. So
Yeah.
asking questions of like, are you a sacred calling teacher? Was
Hmm.
this your calling?
Hmm.
Then I will give you the stage to work with, right? And I
Right.
will pay you. And it's with an honor to pay. When I click that payroll button, it's
Hmm.
an honor, because these are real teachers. And when
Right.
I put that money comes out of my bank, I'm like, yes, it feels so good to have
Right.
given a safe place to teachers who have done the work and
Yeah.
are here to show up for young people and sustain themselves that way.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And it's really, I love what I know so far about your high school program. And it's really interesting because I get a lot of requests for high school students, and I do have high school students because my parents were like, I want all my children to come
Hmm.
here. I'm like, but I'm overwhelmed.
Hmm.
Yes, and so it can become, and so that's a great way of approaching it. If you need to do something like that, and I don't know. So let me ask you a question, just in case anybody watches. Is that something? How do you offer that service to other micro schools, or do they have to be a franchisee in order to?
Yeah, no, I've had micro schools just sign up for just the math program. It really just
Mhm,
depends. They would have to reach out, say what kind of kids they have. In the state of Florida, we have ESAs. If they
mhm,
wanted the parents to just get this, it just depends on case by case per micro school. But
mhm,
we've taken cohorts and just had 10 and 15 students in one cohort that at a
mhm.
certain time, right? So on the micro school end, it's just managing schedules and then doing the work that you have to do, which is writing newsletters as well as talking about traffic and signals and which flow of the traffic and what time are y'all gonna need to be picked up, and don't forget you have your time, all the other admin stuff that we have to do so that you're
Okay,
not also having to lesson plan.
right.
If people are not using AI, that has been the life giving,
Okay, who's not using it?
ever flowing help that I have ever received.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They say that it's not good, but I only see the good. I can't see anything like it saved my life on so many occasions. It's sure made my workload so much smaller in a lot of ways. So I love it.
Mhm.
Absolutely love it. So another question. Where do you see the micro school movement headed over the next 5 years or so, especially for Black and Brown communities?
I'm seeing it be a safer place to really be culturally affirming. I'm seeing more teachers having a safe place that they can work in. I am seeing so many more locations in my imagination, in my perfect world. Again, I want to emphasize, and I think this is one of the biggest misconceptions, is that micro school owners and founders are anti-public school. I am not anti-public school. I'm anti a system that's oppressive, right? So I can imagine a lot of different micro schools. I see a lot of unbundling within the public schools so that you could participate in an algebra or you could go for one class, right?
Mhm.
I see us utilizing the public schools as community centers so that we could still do theater, dance, the sports, right? And that there's lots of little micro schools for the not only the social piece but the academic piece and how young learners learn or young
Yeah,
peoples learn. Um, this movement is just getting started. I cannot imagine it ever going away. This is what parents want. They want a
it
small
is.
learning environment for their kids. Like that's just what it is. The sustainability piece, I think that's going to be one of the harder pieces.
Mhm.
My hope and our pillars of Colossal Academy is accessibility and affordability, right? So we're going to need funders to continue to invest in micro schools in this movement. Funders are fickle. Next week it's going to be Save the Whales, and then they want to talk about plastic and recycling, and then it'll be like, I don't know, art, saving the arts. And so we need funders and philanthropists to continue to support education at this very crucial time
Mhm.
because some of our building blocks are going to have to be off of philanthropic donations. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. There is so much money put into education, and this, and I hear a lot about public education being defunded. But public education has been a major focus of funding for a very long time.
mhm,
And I think that it's really time for us, like you said, to look at a different way of doing things. Um,
mhm,
and so if I always liken, and it's so simple, like when you go to the grocery store, there's literally 6, 7, 8, 10 different kind of apples to choose from. Literally, you go in there, you get, but our education system, they really get angry if you think of anything other than this one way. And it's not that way in any other thing except for education. And I just wonder, just why? why is why do we limit that? That is where our children get the things that they need. This is how they learn and become amazing people and learn how to contribute to the world. And it has never been one size fit all. When I look back at my own education, I see and I look at my friends, I was like, oh man, this this one that's a little, she's a little antsy, but
Those are my favorite.
right, and she wants to get up and go to the board and tell you all about these things, and she's expressive and she's this and she's that, and she got in trouble for being all of those things. Absolutely brilliant, but her way of doing things quite different. That kid should be able to flourish wherever she is, wherever she's learning. We should have an environment where she can flourish. I think that that's what these alternative schooling options does for kids. But you already know I'm preaching to the choir. So, looking back on your amazing journey through all of this, through the years, is there anything that you would have done differently?
I don't think so. I really feel like every single thing, every fail, every sorrowful, every dollar that I mismanaged and didn't use it in it just brought me better to tightening up operations, tightening up my budget, tightening up my, focusing. Because what it is like you're focusing in. It's just the process of focusing and focusing and focusing. So it's everything that I feel like I was a failure in at the time, it was painful, right? But then you just realize that that is just forging me to be sharper,
Right.
Um, and also that might mean not being with people who are sometimes having to say goodbye to certain community members, right? Um, which is painful. So I can't imagine doing anything differently. I
Okay.
took the steps that were in front of me with all the information I ever had.
Right.
I just made the best decision at the time when I could make it. I can't imagine doing anything different. I was obedient to the fact that I felt like I needed to grow slower
Mhm.
and be more intentional and do things with integrity and be very mindful.
Mhm.
So, I was watching people around me just like catapult like really, really quickly. And I
Right.
was like, no, I'm going to just take
Mhm.
steps. But sometimes
Yes.
it's hard to watch that um, when you think you're supposed to be at the same level as other people. There is no other. Um,
There really
there's no
isn't.
comparison with other people. What's mine is mine. What's theirs is theirs. And I'm rooting
Absolutely.
for everybody's success because there's so many kids that need help. So I can't, I found myself comparing for some time there, right? And
Mhm.
um, I finally have gotten to a place where it's just, you can't compare.
Okay. That is very true. You cannot. And our journey, the students that we deal with, they're always going to be different. When I started, there were 19 students to enroll. Well, I started with 12, and then as after the third week of school, one of the families that worked in the center um, invited their church members. They made an announcement at church, and I got 6 more enrollments, 2 families. It's like, it's not what I was trying to. I was really, I wanted 10 students. That was the
Yeah.
goal.
But if the
And
demand's there, Nicole,
well,
the demand was there.
the demand was there. However, um, I think slow growth is the best growth.
Hmm.
That's just me though, because some people would have loved that.
Hmm.
I always plan for the slow because I like to observe, make changes. I think the slow growth gives you time to do that and not so many bumps and hiccups. And, it allows you to do that. Speaking of that, honestly, that would be my advice to micro school leaders, not to worry about. having the 4 or 5 students in your first year to do that. And then it gives you a more clear plan about your growth process. Maybe the second or third year, plan for more growth.
Mhm.
That if you can, sometimes if you're, finances dictate, if you're leasing a building, it dictates you have to, meet some requirements. So I understand that. Finally, if there's one piece of advice that you could give first to parents that are looking for alternative schooling options for their kids, and then secondarily to micro school founders, former teachers, parents, anybody thinking about opening a micro school, advice to those two uh, sets of people.
If your child's not fitting into the system, just take them out. Like, it's not worth it to try to, you know, your child.
Right,
And if there are people, just in the same way that you're looking for a spot, they're also looking for teachers who want your child to
right,
just be exactly who they are. And we're ready to just have that exact person come into our school. So just trust and believe to keep continuing to advocate for your child, and find the spots that is going to affirm you and your family. And if it's not there, to just create it. Like, you can create that space that you need for your child, or children, that are just going to affirm you and empower, because education is supposed to be that. It's supposed to be liberating.
right,
And we no longer need the industrial system. We're not in an industrial era, so we're going to need to build spaces. We're going to need to find people who have them open, and just keep looking. And I think that the second, for advice of just, for micro schools, it's hard. It's really hard work. Make sure you embed rest, and pay attention to the flow of your year. And in the time where there's less flow, don't try to fill it with being busy. Just allow yourself that moment to rest, so that you can be the, yeah, productive part. Because I think, rest is production, is
right.
just as productive as the grind. So that there's times to grind, and there's times to really allow yourself to rest, and take that pause that you need, because the business needs you to do that, actually, or else you'll burn out.
It does. Yes, I totally agree. Shireen, is there anything else that you would like to tell the association members or just whoever may be watching?
Yeah, I think high schooling, all the like microschooling, homeschooling, all the way through post ed, there are so many options. I actually think the best time to homeschool is high school, because there's so many more options of outcomes, right? There, dual enrollment, CTE. I mean, you could become a
I'm
chef if you go to
hyperventilating.
for high school. There's so many more
Yeah,
options. What a
listen,
person can be. It's not
you're
just
talking
taking.
to an elementary teacher,
Ooh,
Shireen.
yes. Well, then you hire somebody that can do high school. You're not expected to do everything. Your job right now is to find the person that can do that. You don't.
Perfect.
You're elementary. Do elementary. Why are you thinking about high school? Find the person that is their divine calling, because you're liberating them by giving them the space that they've always wanted, which is to
Yes.
go on field trips, to have apprenticeships, to make some money, to put all the credits together, and like, that is what just makes them happy. Some people are early literacy, and like saying all day is just their happiest moment, and they sing it, they clap it, they march it. That is
Oh,
not me. That would, yeah. What you mean? I said hey. Next person, go. So some people are born and designed to be with little kids, and some people are born and designed to be with adolescents, and some people are born and designed to be with high school. Your job right now is to find the high school person that's going to continue with your mission in the way that you want it to be done. You want high school to be done this way. Find the person that is their dream job,
right.
and give them a job. Like, that's it.
Right.
Actually, for me, as I'm like watching the trajectory of like where homeschoolers are, you can
Mhm.
dual enroll, graduate with associates. You can, there's a friend right now. He's homeschooling. He's 17. He will finish fully licensed as a welder at 17. He can't even work because he's not 18 yet. He'll
Right.
start making $75 an hour when he turns 18.
That's pretty awesome.
There's other
That
people who can get their prerequisites done in dual enrollment, and there's also apprentices. There's all these amazing experiential learning
mm-hmm.
opportunities within the high school that just doesn't exist in other. And they can drive themselves sometimes. They don't need like
Right.
they, you know. There's a lot of opportunity in that high school
Mhm.
era. So don't be afraid of that for sure.
Okay. Okay. Well, Shireen, as always, it is an absolute pleasure to have you on the platform. So full of information, wisdom, just a brilliant woman. Thank you so much for being a part of the micro school movement, someone that we can look at and kind of model our path after. You know, that is necessary. It's necessary. And it's also, I'm also very thankful to you for being willing to share, to be willing to pour into those who are traveling the path that you've already traveled. We do appreciate you. We do love you for it. We really do. So I want you to know
Thank
that.
you. Well,
Okay.
thank you. And what
Okay.
we do is community. That was always who we were, is to
Hmm.
share information so we can all rise, right? So
Yeah.
it's nothing, it's really decolonizing what community is. And so thank you for allowing me the mic to just
Yes.
be like, okay, come on, guys, let's go.
That's right. That's
We
right.
got all these babies who need homes. Let's go, let's go.
That's right. Thank you so much again, Shireen. And I will be coming to visit Colossal Academy. I want to see its greatness in action.
Yes, thank you. I would
All
love
right.
it. You're always
All right.
welcome. Thank you.
Take care. And record.